so I started contributing. I'm a third-year CS student from Canada, undergrad at this university called the University of Waterloo. And so I first started as an application developer. I worked on some of the core system apps for Plasma Mobile. And over time, I've just been getting more and more responsibility and starting to maintain the stack. So now I do work all the way up and down the stack. Definitely still a lot to learn, but yeah. Okay, I guess we'll skip Bhushan for now.
Hello, can you hear me?
Okay. Oh, hello. There we go.
Yeah, hi. So I think I was contributing to KDE from 2013. I was involved, at start I was involved with Plasma Mobile, like starting from right when it got incubated into KDE. And right now I'm doing some of the release management and maintainership and general cleanup and almost have some of the things currently in the Plasma Mobile project. And I am working on the, like in my personal life, I'm working on the automotive sector. So yeah, now we can go to the next slide.
Okay, hopefully the screen changes. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so this is an overview of what we're going to be talking about today. So we'll be starting a bit about the shell itself, you know, the actual Plasma shell and how we're adapting it to mobile. Then we'll be talking about the underlying stack on how we're actually getting to work on these phones. Then we'll talk about the Plasma Mobile ecosystem. So what's going on in the world of apps, the apps that we're developing, frameworks related to how we develop these apps. And then we'll be talking about actually running Plasma Mobile on hardware. So this is probably the topic that's changed the most in the past 2 years. There's been a lot more interest in the community in porting to devices, so that will be fun. And the last thing we'll be going over is future developments, what we are aiming to do and what we're going to be focusing on for the next few years. So, what is Plasma Mobile? So, it can kind of refer to two things, really. So, we can refer to either the ecosystem or the shell. So Plasma Mobile, if you just talk about the Plasma Mobile repository that we have on the KDE GitLab, that's basically our version of the Plasma desktop repository. So we are just a different Plasma shell, except targeted at mobile. Yeah, we target at mobile use cases, and we provide our own implementations of several things that exist in Plasma desktop. So we mostly do our changes to what Plasma Desktop has differently through something that's known as the global theme or the look and feel. So basically, well, our goal is right now is basically if you want to switch between the desktop and mobile, all you need to do is set our Plasma Mobile theme, and then you log into the Plasma Mobile session, and then you should be able to get into Plasma Mobile. Okay, Bhushan.
Yeah, hi. Just to talk about numbers, like after getting introduced in KDE community, so this does not include the numbers from the fabricator, but right now we have like total 2,000 plus total merge requests that is spanning over at least just the Plasma Mobile and does not include the rest of the KDE things like Plasma core Plasma itself and the frameworks and other projects. We have total 40 plus projects right now in the Plasma Mobile GitLab group, and we have 300 plus tickets, which includes like open and closed tickets. And we have 6 plus active downstreams like OpenSUSE, Fedora, and Manjaro, Ghost Market OS, and several others. So this is how the numbers are growing, and I hope that the mobile community keeps growing over the time. Next slide, please.
Okay. So I'll just be going over some of the screenshots of what the shell looks like right now. Well, okay, this will be coming on Plasma 5.26 in a few weeks. So yeah, so on the left here we have one of our home screens, which is Halcyon. So the equivalent technology that we're using that's used in desktop for this would be how desktop has folders on the, Plasma Desktop has folders on the desktop. We use that sort of concept here, except we provide the entire home screen. So yeah, it is just a Plasma session, except we have our own components. So you'll see on the bottom, we have this navigation bar. Traditionally, we've used these three buttons for navigation, but I think 1 or 2 Plasma versions ago, we did add support for removing this bar, so you can use gestures completely. And then we have our status bar at the top, which gives us some of the tray icons, I guess you can say. And yeah, so these panels are actually the same technology as what's used for Plasma's panels. So you have your, so in a traditional Plasma session, you have your applications on the bottom, you got your time, you got your widgets and all that. We're just using that here except for the navigation bar and the status bar. So that just kind of speaks to how flexible Plasma is and the work that's gone in the past few years for allowing us to use the same concepts except in different contexts. So in the middle, we have the traditional home screen that we've had previously, which is a bit more like a traditional Android home screen. You got your pinned applications. If you swipe up, you get your applications list. And then on the right side, that's just our task switcher. So if you press this button, or if you flick up with a gesture, it'll show you that task switcher menu interface. And then this is some more, these are some more screenshots of the shell. So on the left here, we have our quick settings drop-down panel. This is basically a quick way to access any sort of settings you want to quickly toggle. We use our own package type called quick setting packages. So that allows applications or just the shell components to provide their own quick settings that will actually show up here. We did investigate whether we could use desktop widgets to put here, but it didn't really work out so well. So for now, we have a separate thing from desktop that's just called quick settings. Yeah, okay. So over in the middle, we got our pinned view. So if you just swipe down once, you'll get this view that allows you to quickly see all of your notifications. So as you can see there, there's a screenshot notification. Uses the same technology that desktop uses for the notification widget. So yeah, it'll look pretty similar. And then on the right side, we have our audio applet. So when you press the audio, when you press the power or the volume buttons, it'll show up with just the pop-up for the volume. And then when you click the arrow, it'll actually show you all the inputs like the audio applet that we have on desktop. So it allows you to quickly change settings related to your microphones. If you have multiple microphones, you can change all of that, outputs, and as well as different application volumes. Okay, last thing about the shell is just our lock screen. So this is provided by our Plasma Mobile theme. So you have the desktop lock screen. We replace it with this lock screen, which is a bit more geared for touch. In the past year, we spent a lot of work in trying to get notifications to show up on the lock screen. I don't have a screenshot of it here. Actually, I do. On the top right, there's a notification that actually came from my phone, my other phone. And yeah, we can actually allow users to quickly see their notifications on the lock screen. They can see audio streams that are going on. So for example, I have a music app running. And you can also actually bring up the quick settings menu from the lock screen, all stuff that was done in the past year. Okay, so I'll just quickly overview the stack, and then Bhushan will talk a bit more about our telephony situation. So our stack, obviously, as a KDE project, we have Qt. And we also make a lot of use of KWin with Wayland. In fact, Plasma Mobile does not support X well, we have X Wayland, but we cannot run the shell in X. We have a hard dependency on Wayland. And then we use this project called Mali Keyboard, which provides our virtual keyboard. So the keyboard that pops up when you focus on a text field. So this project was actually, I believe it was developed for, I think it was Ubuntu Touch. We still share the same code base as them. I believe Ubuntu Touch has some patches on it. But yeah, we do actually share the same keyboard as Ubuntu Touch and I believe Sailfish OS. And then for telephony, we switched recently to Modem Manager. So that provides our access to, or that provides our ability to do calls, SMS, mobile data. Yeah, and then everything else really is what you're accustomed to on desktop. So Pulse Audio or Pipewire, Bluetooth stack is exactly the same. So this is kind of really the beauty of porting Linux to mobile. We can just use the same stack. As long as the hardware is supported, we can just use the what we use on desktop. Okay, Bhushan will talk about telephony.
Okay, so about telephony, I think one of the major change that we did during 2021 and 22 was switching from Open to Modem Manager, because we had some concerns about the availability, like how alive the OpenUp project was, and also the stability of overall OpenUp project. And we noticed that some of the mobile OS projects like Posh or Genome Mobile, as we call it, they're starting to use the Modem Manager. So we eventually decided that it is best to switch to Modem Manager for improved telephony stability. We have custom application called Plasma Dialer, which is basically front end to Modem Manager right now. And we have a spacebar application that can allow you to send SMS and MMS. And we are using the call audio from the Mopian project, yet another great project, great distribution, shout out to them. And that we are using for audio routing, because audio routing on mobile devices is super complex. There are like multiple sinks and multiple sources, and each device has its own quirks, and it's so weird to like do it custom made in your own device. But also using call audio allows us to share same stack between like multiple projects, like Posh Dialer is also using the same thing, and for example, other projects are also using the same thing. So ultimately, it allows us to have a same set of standards and projects working. Next slide, please. Yeah. So in terms of stack evaluation, as I mentioned, that we did Open to Modem Manager migration, and that brought out lots of telephony improvements. I think if you have tried Plasma Mobile back in 2018-19, you have heard lots of complaints that Plasma Mobile's telephony and overall stability of the phone stack is super bad. But thanks to Alexei and some other contributors, we have ported it to Modem Manager, and that has brought down lots of stability improvements. And actually, nowadays it is actually in a usable state where you can actually use the telephony. There were also major improvements in the compositor, and this is also thanks to our goal of Wayland in the general KDE goals. So we had window overlay support for the lock screen added very recently, so that you do not miss your calls when your phone is locked, and it allows dialer to bring windows in front of it. There were lots of improvements in terms of virtual keyboard input. There are certain bugs there still, but overall the stability of whole virtual keyboard whole virtual keyboard is improving quite a lot. And we also added the support for X-Variant clients in the virtual keyboard. So traditionally, lots of people ask that why don't you allow us to have a virtual keyboard working on some of the applications that are old school or some of the applications that are not using Valiant. And so based on this user's request, we also added support for X-Variant clients in the virtual keyboard, so that now if you are using programs, you can enter input. And there were also lots of performance enhancements in the compositor, in the application, in the cell, and almost everywhere. So lots of application startup times were improved. For example, K-Weather, I think that was like one of the most heaviest application, and its startup performance has been improved quite a lot, and similar for the Queen and every other components that we are using on Plasma. Okay, next slide, please.
Okay, so applications. So we have two categories really of applications. So we first have our convergent category, which are basically applications that we designed to work both on desktop and mobile. So the intention eventually is that, yeah, we'd ship the same application for use on both of them without any changes really. So some of these applications you might already be familiar with. So we have Discover, the App Store that we also use on Plasma Mobile. We have our own UI for that I'll show later. Elisa, which is a music player, Coco, Cast, and the list goes on. It's actually most of our apps we do try to design with all these different form factors in mind. So using Kirigami, we can actually accomplish this. And then there is a second category of applications that really are the mobile equivalents of desktop applications. So one of the biggest things is that some of our existing desktop apps are quite hard to port to mobile, so we just basically created a mobile equivalent of them. So that could include our browser. Usually, like a lot of people would use Firefox on the desktop. I know Firefox hasn't expressed interest in actually making a mobile form factor, so we actually have our own browser, Angelfish. We also have our own version of console, except not in Qt widgets, it's in Qt Quick. It's called QML console. And then a file manager, which is Index, because currently Dolphin doesn't work super well on mobile yet, maybe. And then we have our actual application release cycles. So our core applications iterate pretty frequently, and we have a lot of changes, especially dialer and spacebar, which provides SMS. Those need to be fixed pretty often. We do a lot of work on those. So basically, we have this separate release cycle called Plasma Mobile Gear, which happens every 2 months. And then we have the normal KDE Gear release service, which is where most desktop apps are released through. And I believe that's every 4 months. Then we also have a separate thing for MAUI applications. So they're another project from within KDE that also develops convergent apps. They release on their own release schedule. And one of the biggest things that we did in the past, I believe it was exactly a year ago now, we started packaging all of our convergent apps as Flatpaks, and we pushed them to FlatHub. So basically, people from, well, no matter your distro, as long as you have Flatpak, you can actually install our apps. You can enjoy them on other desktop environments as well. Phosh, GNOME, mobile, yeah. So this is just taken straight, I'm not gonna read all of them, but this is taken straight from our homepage, and this is kind of our list of first-party apps that we develop. So these are just KDE applications that have been designed with Plasma Mobile in mind. As you can see, we have a lot of our system apps, but we also have different apps like NeoChat, which is a matrix client, slowly starting to move into FOSS social networking. Yeah. Yeah, if you use NeoChat, you can use it on mobile as well. You can use the same app on desktop and mobile. And then we also have MAUI apps like Pix and yeah. So Kirigami, so this is kind of the framework that really allows all of this convergent work to happen. This is how we're able to take a desktop interface and make very minimal changes and have it work on mobile as a first-party experience. So we primarily develop with Qt Quick. Kirigami is a Qt Quick framework. Qt widgets, while it's possible for us to make mobile experiences out of them, it's definitely harder to, and we don't really have the infrastructure yet. So for the most part, everything that we do on Plasma Mobile is in Qt Quick. So for Kirigami, these are some examples of some of the components that we've contributed upstream. So we got the idea starting from our mobile use cases. We pushed it upstream to Kirigami so that they could be used on both desktop and mobile. So navigation tab bar, dialog, form components, not decided yet. So here's some screenshots of some apps. So as you can see on the bottom here, this is actually a new component that came here or that was added about a year ago. It's called the navigation tab bar, which allows you to navigate without using a sidebar for if you have like 3, 4 pages in your application. So it's easier than, for example, opening the sidebar and then clicking an option. So on the left here, we got Discover. So you may not be familiar with this interface. This is how it looks on mobile. Very minimal changes needed, which is the power of Kirigami. And then, yeah. In the middle, we have our browser, which is Angelfish. Uses, I forgot the name, Qt Web Engine to do all the rendering and all that. And then on the far right, we have Elisa, which is an app that used to actually be a desktop specific application, but got ported to have a mobile interface. So now we can use the same app on desktop and mobile. That's how that looks with the dark theme. Some other applications. This was originally developed, so this is Cast on the left side, which is a podcast player. It was originally developed for Plasma Mobile, but eventually it also got ported to have a desktop interface. So now, yeah, use the same app on desktop and mobile. In the middle, it's another convergent app. That's K-Weather, which was actually one of the first projects that I worked with when I first started contributing. And then on the far right, we got QML Console, which is our Qt Quick or mobile version of console. And these are some examples of non-KDE, non-Qt applications, just to show you that Plasma Mobile allows you to run any application. It's Linux, right? So on the far left, we have a GTK4 libidweta app from GNOME. This is GNOME Clocks, works perfectly. In the center, we actually have a Flutter application. So applications developed with Flutter that are meant for Android and iOS. Maybe in the future, we'll see a lot more of them on Linux. So since they can actually also use the same code base, we actually have it working perfectly now. Yeah. And then on the far right side, that's actually an Electron application. So I know it's a bit slow on the PinePhone. You have to basically start a browser to open it. But it's working perfectly, like touch support and everything. I guess it's because Chromium supports touch well. You can use that if you want to. Yeah. Okay, Bhushan.
Yeah, okay. About the Plasma Mobile, so you saw that Devin presented this UI and all that. Now, like how to use that, how to use it on actual hardware. So one of the major changes that happened was that we dropped the Helium support. I think it actually happened back in 2021, but we still included this here because it's noteworthy. So it was a decision that we made that we will only support the mainline device because it supports our philosophy of the Plasma Mobile project much better. We are also getting pre-installed on the Pine64, Pinephone, and Pinephone Pro devices. So the devices that Pine64 is selling, they are including this pre-install. And we are also supporting various devices. For example, post-market OS community is supporting these devices like Control 6, Shift 10, 6 devices, and several other devices. you can reach out to that community and figure out how it is getting, which devices they are supporting. And if you have some distribution, you can also install those as a regular packages on your desktop or on your tablet, for example. It is getting packaged in Alpine, Fedora, Manjaro, Postmarket OS, Linux on OpenSUSE, and Fedora. So you can simply install the packages of the applications or the shell and have it working on your normal desktop device as well. Next slide, please. Yes. Okay, so I want to talk a bit about the major challenges that we are going to face in the future. So we are seeing more and more vendor lock-in. So we are seeing that companies are locking their devices a bit more in the name of security or in the name of basically they are trying to lock the devices a bit more and a bit more. And it is getting harder to install the custom software on those devices. So like once you buy the devices with the Android, you are stuck with that. That's it. That's the end of the story. And there is also lack of more generalized adoption for the open mobile project. So we are saying that we are working on these mobile projects, but people are not adopting it as quickly as they should be. So it is just not about the Plasma Mobile, but it is also same story for the other projects. So it is still, this open mobile projects are still a kind of a more kind of a geeky thing, so that we want it to become more and more open to general public. And so we have like lots of open mobile projects communities. There are lots of distributions. There are lots of communities working on the user interface. There are lots of community people working on the applications. But in general, we feel like there is a fragmentation between these communities. There is a lack of collaboration between these mobile communities. So the communities are working on this, solving some problems in their own small bubbles, and they are not communicating with each other, and they are not having some kind of synchronous communication between each other, and that is in longer term hurting each other and hurting this initiative about having open mobile projects. Next slide, please.
So now we're going to look forward to our 2023, 2024 goals. So really the biggest thing that we really need to focus on nowadays is stability and performance. So a lot of the initial development work of the past 2 years was really on implementation. We needed a shell. We need all these things to be working. Now we need to investigate a lot of the issues that we have on a lot of these mobile devices that Plasma Mobile has been ported to. So issues like suspend, waking from suspend, bugs with window management, things like that. So we need to spend more time to create better workflows for investigating these day-to-day regressions that happen on our dev branch. And yeah, so the second big goal really is KDE PIM. So we want to be able to provide an experience for users that allows them to unify their contacts, emails, calendars all together. This is already a big thing on desktop. We want to bring that work to mobile, hopefully within the next year. There's actually a BOF about that you can check out. I think it's just called the KDE PIM BOF. Yeah, Carl. Third thing really is improved tablet support. So we've actually heard a lot of feedback from users that they want to see Plasma Mobile on their tablets. They want more of a touch-based experience that they kind of see on, like, for example, their iPads or Android tablets. So that's another big thing that we need to work on. Improving the shell, improving applications so that they work well with widescreen layouts. And the fourth big thing, which this is a really, really big topic, which would be convergence. So this is probably one of the major selling points of having a Linux device. It's the ability to basically run desktop applications. So the goal here is you walk up to any monitor, any display, you take your Pine phone, any other phone, you plug it into the monitor, and actually, if you plug in a mouse and keyboard, you get a full desktop experience. So then you can do, you basically don't need a laptop. As long as you have a screen, you can plug in your phone and you can do stuff you do on the desktop. So a lot of work we need to do for multi-displays, having multi-window mode, things like that. Bhushan?
Yeah, so actually, so one of the thing that we are looking for towards the hardware support is like, we are hoping that we support more and more mainline devices. This is kind of open call to also people who are capable of doing this work, and this is also called to mobile manufacturers that more mainline devices or more devices that are running near to mainline Linux kernel, they make it much easier for us to run Plasma Mobile on it, and it also makes it much easier to basically bring Plasma Mobile to more end users. Also, we have, I mean, you saw the numbers that we are gaining in terms of activity, but still we expect more active contributors working on the Plasma Mobile project. And we also expect that Plasma Mobile project becomes a stepstone for people looking to contribute to KDE. So I think you saw the Devin who started working right at the Plasma Mobile, and now he's also contributing to some things in the desktop as well. So we are looking for some more. We are hoping that Plasma Mobile is the project where people can get started working on the KDE community. And yeah, as I mentioned earlier, that more hardware vendors that support the Linux mobile. Next slide, please.
All right, contribute. So we definitely need more contributors. I'd say the amount of active people working directly on Plasma Mobile is in the single digits, despite we have quite a few users that came from the Pine 64 community that have been trying it out. So bug testers, developers, yeah, just if you would like to contribute, you can join us on Matrix. You can check out our documentation as well. Generally, you need a lot more testing, so yeah, feel free to join us on Matrix. You can also check out our website, which contains a lot more information about the project. So, questions. I know we kind of ran pretty late, so if you have other questions or you want to try out some of the devices, you can come to the buff on Monday. And yeah, I'll have a bunch of devices out if you want to try them. Any questions? Hi, Bhushan.
So we have a couple of questions, both from the online folks and maybe someone in person here as well. I'll be trying to go change it up. So first question comes from Umberto. What's the best way of testing and developing the mobile Linux ecosystem without hardware like a Pine phone?
Without her, so it would actually be pretty similar to the way you develop on desktop. So we have this tool called KDE Source Build. You can build the entire KDE stack on any distro as long as you have it set up. So I'd recommend that if you just want to try it. Well, if you want to just try it yourself, you don't want to do the development, you don't want to compile everything, we have Postmarket OS. They provide a tool that quickly builds a Plasma Mobile image, and it'll run it in a virtual machine, and you can try it out yourself. Yeah, I mean, there's more information on the website, and you can also ask us in the Matrix channel if you have more questions on that.
Any questions from the online, in-person audience? If so, raise your hands. If not, I'll go through the online questions. I find, from Cooperino, I find myself accidentally closing apps because I confuse the order of the buttons and tapping the X a single time closes it. Could it be made so a gesture or a second action is needed to close the app?
Yes, so we've kind of just kept with the close button on the bottom for a very long time. I actually didn't get around to it for Plasma 5.26, but I was planning on having it a hold to close. So basically, you'd hold the close button for a set amount of time and close it. Eventually, we kind of do want to move to gestures or allowing you to customize the bottom bar, because I know a lot of people find the X button a bit weird. So, yeah.
Okay, sorry, we don't have any more time for questions. So, first of all, applause, please, again for Bhushan and Devin. If people in person have questions, can they find you here and trouble you about their Plasma mobile stuff? And for the online questions I didn't get to, maybe Bhushan, are you in the Matrix room and people can ping you there and ask some of those questions?
Sure, and you can also join our Matrix channel. So it's I think Devin showed it in previous channel, and I will also send a link there.